I think it took me a long time to admit that my work was abstract. Everything I think that I paint, I've seen somewhere before. It feels like it's pieces of figurative art, like cut up and stuck together in an abstract way. So I think of abstract as being quite like a fluid concept. So I'm Rachel Ray. I am from Gloucester. So I was born in Wales, but I grew up in Gloucester for most of my life. And I moved back to Wales, back to Aberystwyth when I was 18. So I got into making art from a really young age. I grew up in like a really arty family. My grandma's a painter and some of my aunties are artists and my dad paints. And I think I was just always encouraged to make stuff. I like this paint as well because you can be quite rough with it. It's okay. And when it's dry, like you can put loads of other layers on it and it doesn't smudge or anything. When you're swimming or when you're like appreciating something beautiful, then that's also part of the process, so that you can count that as painting because you're thinking about paint and you're thinking about like aesthetics and you're thinking about the view and the colours and the light all at the same time.
Yeah, that looks cool.
It's a nice big sweep. This is when I get a bit precious, is when my brush is too small, so I have to remember to use bigger ones. I think it's just like, yeah, having the confidence. I think rather than like depicting a scene, I'm trying to like show the perspective of how people feel in the landscape. So how I feel, obviously, as a painter, like quite selfishly, but then also I want other people to look at the paintings and feel things and be reminded of bits of nature, but also of how they felt, perhaps when they were doing something outside or being in the ocean. So I'll probably look at it in lots of different ways before I decide where I want to paint next. So I'm quite happy with like this bit here, but I know I need to work on that side. Maybe flip it actually all the way this way. Yeah, I'll probably work on it like that for a bit because it will mean that I like focus on this bit here. Then you'll have, like from that little cluster, you'll have larger shapes that go out, and that's the fields and the surrounding like rural landscape. And then you'll have like the line of the coast and like this big shape, which is the sea. And I don't know, I liked how those little shapes fitted together and how they kind of like spiral outwards from these little clusters of towns. And especially I really love that like our towns here all kind of like, they all kind of like depend on the sea. So there's so many different moods that you could capture, like joy or melancholy or excitement, fear as well, definitely sometimes. It's quite humbling because it's so big and so much more powerful than you. I want the weather to be in the painting, so I want like the dark clouds and the shadows that they cast on the hills and on the ocean. And then also obviously the bright days, the sunsets, the rain, the wind, like all of these different things which we feel and see at the same time. And that's what I want the paintings to be, the perspective of seeing and feeling nature. Okay, and then this bit might look nice.
Sorry, it made me really excited.
I'm really glad this is nice for you.
It's just crazy, like tiny things like this.
Try to manage, you won't find